All right, Yevamos, Daf Gimel. So you may or may not remember, but we were talking about this concept of the 15 ervas, and the idea of aseh dochel as aseh, meaning you would think that the aseh of a yibum would push off the los aseh of not being with an erva. But rather, we don't end up saying this, but just that kind of sends us along this spiral of this concept of aseh dochel as aseh, and we ask, okay, it's fine. So the pasuk by marrying your wife's sister, or involving your wife's sister, I should say, teaches us that we don't say aseh dochelos aseh. But if not for the pasuk, then I would have said it. So now we want to take a step back and we say, hold on a second. Where do we even learn this concept of aseh dochelos aseh? So the Gemara explains. We learn it from one pasuk says lo silba shatnis, and the next pasuk says gedila im taseh lecha. So normally you're not supposed to wear shatnez, but this concept of gedilim, taselecha, you should be wearing tzitzis. So that teaches us that the aseh of tzitzis is even doche alos aseh of not wearing shatnez. In other words, if you have wool tzitzis, you can put them on a linen garment. That's the idea there. And then we take another step back and we say, hold on, you just told me that two psukim that are together teach me something. A smuchin is the word, like the juxtaposition of two psukim teach me something. So where do I even learn that idea from? So the Gemara says, well, there's a pasuk, smuchin la'ad la'olam asuyim b'ames v'yeshar, so we learn that from pasuk, and then we bring up a few different examples in the Gemara where we do rely on smuchim for important things. For example, the idea that a man cannot be with a woman that his father had forced, or raped, so to speak. So there are a few different examples that the Gemara brings down, which shows that we do really believe that two psukim connected to each other teach us something special. We do believe in smuchin, and we say even according to Rabbi Yehuda, who doesn't hold like smuchin at all, apparently he does hold by smuchin in Parshas in Sefer Devarim, in Torah's Kohanim, which is a special din. Why do we hold by smuchin and Devarim and not everywhere else? Because you'll notice in Devarim there's a lot of sort of, I don't want to use the word repetitive, but there's a lot of psukim that already appear in other places in the Torah, and so because the mitzvah that we learn has already been taught in the Torah, so this pasuk now in Devarim can be used for something else. Each pasuk can only be used for one thing, so many times we'll use this pasuk to teach us a smuchin, some sort of a juxtaposition. So and so we say that there are two different, I guess going back to tzitzis now. So we said that gedilim taselecha, you should make yourself tzitzis, and lo silba shatnes, those are two separate psukim. We say there are really two things that allow us to learn a smuchin from this. Number one is the idea of muchach, meaning it's sort of like obvious, like what else would it be teaching us? And number two is mufni, which means because we already learned this din somewhere else in the Torah, it's mufni, it's available to be taught here for something else. So that's why tzitzis and shanis here in Devarim are now available to teach us this idea of aseh doche los aseh. And we say, hold on one second, this concept of mufni, where it's now available, why do we hold this way? It's based on the Tana Be'Eliyahu, that the word begadim, earlier on in the Torah, the word begadim, or actually it's in this pasuk, but the word begadim teaches us the concept of shatnez. So that leaves everything else in that pasuk, when it actually talks about shatnez, we can use that for our, it's basically free to teach us something else, which is aseh doche los aseh. And then I guess the Gemara, I sort of explained it at a bit of a high level. It's a pretty lumdisha daf, pretty complex, but that's the bottom line. Then we finish off by saying, well, why can't we learn it from Techeles? Maybe that's another pasuk that seems to be extra, where we can seemingly learn aseh dochelos asay from techeles, and we end up saying that no, because it doesn't apply to all the shitas. For example, it doesn't apply to Rava. So today's daf is pretty much entirely about asay dochelos asay. Tomorrow we are going to continue because we really only explained that we learn asay dochelos asay from Shatnes by Tana de Belio, because he's the guy who says that bigadim is used for one thing. So now we can learn the rest of the psukim about tzitzis to teach us asay dochelos asay. So tomorrow's daf, we're going to continue talking about another opinion, aka the Rabbanan, to see where they learn asay dochelos asay. Have a great day.